What is up, everybody? Lady Priscilla here, and today I figured I would do something a little different, which is to say a pre-recorded video. I wanted to do this because I wanted to give like my thoughts on Endwalker as an expansion as a whole and the different bits and pieces of it. Because overall, I very much enjoyed Endwalker, and this is like the finale of, like the Hydon Zodiac arc. So I figured I would, make a video, giving like what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, and things like that. So naturally, there is going to be a lot of spoilers in this video, for the entirety of the expansion. The extreme fights and some mechanics in those and things like that. So if you haven't played Endwalker and you care about spoilers, then I would suggest finishing Endwalker before reading into it. I will do the main story stuff at the end of the video rather than at the start, because I feel like that might take longer than the job stuff, so I will be doing the job stuff first. So getting straight into it, I main Paladin. Paladin is my main job, and it has been since Shadowbringers. I swapped to Paladin in Shadowbringers, and I put a lot of Dark Knight in Shadowbringers too, but I swapped back to Paladin fully in Endwalker. Paladin right now is in a very good spot. At level 80, it feels the exact same as it did in Shadowbringers. It feels the exact same. If you play Paladin at level 80 now, it doesn't feel changed at all from playing it back in Shadowbringers a couple of months ago. Leveling Paladin feels incredible from 80 to 90. You get Holy Sheltron at level 82, which is just a insanely good ability. Holy Sheltron is everything we've ever wanted on Paladin, which, to me, personally, Paladin has always been the weakest tank, mitigation-wise, because it lacks any form of sustain other than Clemency, but we'll get into that later. It has the lowest amount of personal cooldowns, because every other tank has three like big cooldowns, and then the short cooldown, whereas Paladin only have had the two, which is Rampart and Sentinel with Sheltron. But now they have just this god tier ability in fucking Holy Sheltron, which is just like a mini Rampart with regen built in, and it feels incredible to use. On top of that, you get healing from like your magic rotation, and it just, Paladin has never felt better to play. The downside trade-off to this, though, is now going back to playing the job at level 80, it feels unplayable because you just have no sustain, and it just feels awful. The changes in Endwalker have fixed a lot of my issues with Paladin, which was Spirits Within no longer has a potency, scaling on your health, so that's gone, which is great. The rotation has been changed up enough with just 3 new buttons that the Paladin rotation now feels a lot more fun to go through. Just by skipping that one Goring point, it actually changes the rotation enough to make it a lot more fun than it used to be. And the new 3-hit combo with the swords is so satisfying to use. It's difficult to like remember to do because like you have like 6 years of muscle memory of going through Goring Blade. But like once you can get over that mental block, it's so satisfying. Especially, I think it's called Blade of Valor is the final one, where it has like the Ring of Swords with the large sword that goes down at the end. It feels so just weighty. Which is something I thought Confiteor really lacked. Because like it didn't really feel like a finisher move because it just kind of like farted it out, and it didn't really feel like it was hitting hard, even though it did. Whereas Blade of Valor doesn't hit as hard, but it feels weighty, and like it shakes the screen a little bit, and it's very cool visually and it's a lot of fun to just cast it. That said, while Paladin is as good as it's ever been, I still do have some gripes with the job, which is to say, now with intervention getting a huge buff, which now it's essentially Rampart, or if you have a defensive cooldown on, it's essentially Sentinel, given to another player plus a regen. Cover is now even more worthless in niche than it already was, because why wouldn't you just throw the intervention on them, since they both cost the same? At this point, I don't see what they could do with cover to make it, like, viable, because cover as an ability, is sort of like antithesis to, like, the way they design encounters, which is they design encounters so any job can do it, whereas cover is mechanically a very unique ability to Paladin. And so if they were to make mechanics which cover would use, then Paladin would become like the preferred mandatory job, and that's not what they want to do. They want people to be able to use any tank. So cover is just kind of in a weird spot at the moment, which is kind of pointless. And I think if they removed cover, no one would give a shit. Same thing with Shield Bash. Like, Shield Bash is equally worthless. It has, like, a very niche use where, like, EAS week 1, it was useful for, like, stunning the ad phase. And I think it sees some use in, like, Palace of the Dead and things. But other than that, it's like, no one ever uses this fucking ability. Just get rid of it. I actually haven't tested if it still breaks the GCD combo. Since they made it so like Shield Lob doesn't, I wonder if Shield Bash still does. I haven't checked because I don't even have Shield Bash on my hotbar. It's that useless. But I think if they got rid of that, nobody would give a shit either. And tying into the sustain earlier, Clemency is now even more pointless. I don't know what they plan to do with Clemency, because, again, like the other two abilities, it has a very niche use where during, like, prog, you can maybe somewhat save, like, a run, like, by healing, like, the healer, or, like main tank, or what have you. But other than that, it doesn't really have much use, because its potency isn't even buffed anymore by Requiescat. All that gives it is instant casting. And I guess, like, they plan for you to use it, like, outside of Requiescat windows, because while they didn't reduce the MP cost, they reduced the MP cost of Holy Spirit and Holy Circle. So now you only use half your mana as opposed to your full mana bar. So now you have all this extra mana lying around because you build so much of it. And I don't really know what they want you to do with that extra mana. Like, the change is very good because now even if you die, you can still go into your Requiescat window because there's no, like, requirements other than it being off cooldown now. So it's a very good place for that ability to be in. But I don't know what they expect you to do with the extra mana. And they can't really buff Clemency to make it, like, as strong as, like, a healer ability, which is the only way to make that skill viable, because then you would step too much into the toes of just doing the healer's job for them. Personally, I would like to see it just be, like, maybe an OGCD that, like, is weaker than Equilibrium but applies, like, a heal over time with, like, a main heal. Like, for example, like Medica 2, but, like, single target. Or just make it an AoE heal ability. That would make it a little more unique in the realm of tanks. And Paladin being a sort of, like, healer tank. So I feel like that could be, like, the ideal way to go with that. Or maybe have it, like... Oh, no, I guess you wouldn't give it a barrier because of Divine Veil. So, yeah, maybe, like, a heal over time type thing. Like... reduce the potency of like the upfront heal, and then apply like an AoE heal over time, which please let it apply to the Paladin too. Divine Veil still does not apply to the Paladin. It's still annoying. Please fucking change it. I don't understand why Warriors works like that, but Paladins doesn't. It doesn't make sense, and I hate it. Overall though, Paladin, very, very good. Best it's ever been. Super fun job. It's the job I took into the Extreme Trials. It's probably the job I'll take into Savage. Paladin has only gotten better since Stormblood, when they buffed Paladin. It's only gotten better, it's only gone up, and I hope that as we get into the next expansion, it just keeps building upon what Paladin already has. The only other job I've really played this expansion would be Reaper. My Reaper's currently level 84. It's fun. The job is very, very fun. It's very flashy. Going into Enshroud is just... It's so fun with the 1.5 second GCD, and you're just like spamming abilities and just fucking freaking out. It's so cool. The noises are satisfying as hell. My only issue with Reaper at the moment is for some reason, it has 6 fucking buttons for AoE. It has 6 buttons for AoE, and there's just no reason for it. Too many of their buttons are for AoE, and it just feels like... It feels like Reaper definitely suffers from Final Fantasy XIV class time, which is, in order to like pad out abilities, they'll take one ability, reduce the potency and make it AoE, and then just slap that in. So like, for example, using Paladin, you have Holy Spirit, so they reduced the potency, made it AoE, and gave you Holy Circle. It still feels the same thing, but they've just changed it. Reaper has that for like every ability. It has a AoE damage buff proc. It has 2 spam AoEs, an AoE spender, and the second gauge filler. And there's just no reason for this many buttons. Because like those 6 buttons, you're never gonna press outside of dungeons ever. It's 6 buttons specifically for trash mobs in dungeons and nothing else, because they're only a DPS gain, I believe, against 3 mobs or more. And in Extreme Trials, in Savage Raids, you very rarely are in a situation where there's 3 mobs to hit. So they're going to be completely worthless in most, like even 24-man raids, they're going to be worthless in the vast majority of content other than dungeons. So I don't understand why they dedicated this many buttons to it. If you deleted those 6 buttons and then just made the single target ones AoE, nobody would bat an eye, and it would just be the exact fucking same job, and it would play the exact same way, because they're just AoE versions of the single target spells. And it just feels like padding and like ability bloat for no reason. And so I don't really like that. So like the trash packs are like my least favourite part of playing Reaper at the moment, but like fighting like bosses and doing trials and things on it have been like the more fun aspect of Reaper for me. Which is like the majority of content in Final Fantasy XIV. That said, it's an extremely fun job, and I'm looking forward to getting it to level 90. I probably won't raid on this job, but it's very fun, and overall it's a very good class apart from the AoE stuff. And I hope that they take like lessons from Stormblood Summoner. And I know Summoner just got reworked and things, and I haven't touched Summoner very much to see how it plays at the moment. All I know is that it's like a lot easier to play now and a lot more like intuitive. But the way Stormblood Summoner worked was whether you were single target or AoE, your rotation didn't change. The only thing that changed was your filler buttons. So instead of spamming Ruin 3, you spammed, I think it was Outburst in Stormblood. Instead of hitting Fester, you hit Pain Flare. Every other button you ever pressed was the exact same button. You still just went through your rotation because all your abilities were just AoE. And I think, like, that's the way jobs should be. So you're still doing... So rather than just, like, spamming 2 buttons, you're still doing your rotation, except it's just AoE. I think that's just, like, a better way of, like, doing it, because it's just... It feels more fluid than just spamming buttons. Which, you know, something like healers have to fucking contend with, where they spam 1 button the entire fucking fight. Like, having, like, 6 buttons for AoE doesn't necessarily make it complex or more interesting. It's just let me do my normal rotation but in AoE without padding out abilities is like my overall like negative takeaway from that job. But other than that, Reaper is extremely fucking fun, and I super advise people to pick it up because it's a little awkward at first, but once you hit level 80 on it and you unlock Enshroud, that job becomes just so much more. It's like Gunbreaker when you level from 60 to 70 and you get Continuum, and then the job just fucking becomes so much like faster paced and more fun. It's a lot like that. That's what Enshroud is. Enshroud is like Continuum for Reaper. Those are the only 2 jobs I've messed with. So I can't really give talk on anything else. The only other thing I can touch upon would be Scholar, because Scholar got memed on a lot. And as someone who's done the extreme trials, the sprint Scholar button is so like it's so strange to like be affected by, because you'll just suddenly start sprinting and you're like looking at your hotbar to see like if you've accidentally sprinted because you need the cooldown for like later on, and you haven't pressed it and you're just left fucking confused. But it's the fucking Scholar who's just like, I'm fast as fuck, boy. And you're just fucking, everyone's just fucking sprinting around. It's so good. Scholar's always been my favourite healer, even though it's not like the one I play, because I'm not the best healer in the world. So I usually play White Mage if I have to play like a healer for like maps or something. But overall, I still very much like raiding with a Scholar, and I honestly have preferred having Scholar in my groups over Sage, because I feel like Scholar has more consistent healing and barriers. So that's all I can really say about that, is that I still very much like where Scholar is. Speaking of the extreme trials and raids though, the Zodiac fight to me was a lot harder than the Hydaelyn fight. I'm talking about the extremes here. The meteor phase, I don't know what's called. I think it's called like something eclipse. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one where like he rains down meteors on the platform in like 3 patterns. That mechanic is so satisfying to watch people to die to, because people like to play follow the leader in this fight, and watching them all follow the wrong person and like 6 people just get fucking wiped out in a one shot is the funniest fucking thing while farming that fight or proccing it or what have you. That said, for an extreme trial, that fight towards the end, like after you've gone through like the stars, where like he's like, there's so much going on in that fight where he starts like, he puts down like 2 birds, 2 meteors, 2 behemoths, and then he puts down like a cone or a square, and then he puts down the firewall, and then he puts down the snakes, and you're just like, stop, please, and there's so much to like keep track of, and like you can sort of simplify it, whereas like if somewhere isn't a safe spot before the wall moves, it likely is a safe spot afterwards, which is like a very easy way to like figure out that mechanic. That said, that fight is very fun. It took me a while to prog it, because it was difficult to find a group that would like clear that fight, because it just becomes such a a clusterfuck towards the end of the fight, which is like extremely fun for what is typically like barely mid-core content. It's an extremely fun just fight to do, and I super approve of that fight overall. The music is, of course, as always, incredible. Absolutely incredible. The Heidelin fight is very easy. It's extremely, extremely easy. And I think that's mostly due to how intuitive the fight is. The fight is extremely intuitive. Like, just like looking at her abilities, like the effects of them and like the names, you can figure out like what things do fairly quickly. And even like the ad phase, it's very quick to like find out. Like within one pull, you can figure out like the entire like everything up to after the ads, because the first phase is very easy to like figure out intuitively, and the ad phase you only wipe to once, because the only thing to figure out is, do I pull the ads towards the glowing crystals or away from them? And if you pull them towards the glowing crystals, you figure out very quickly that's not what you do. The only like difficult, and I put that in quotation marks, part of that fight is the crystal phase, where the waves go through the crystals and they like explode, and then you have to like split into like 3 groups of like tanks, healers, and DPS to like take the 3 cones. That's like the only like difficult part of that fight, and that's where like people usually get just fucking shredded by it. And then after that is the light walls, which is just as easy as it was in normal. Overall, very intuitive fight, very easy to do. There's no like real difficulty to it. I would argue that fight's even easier than Innocence X back in Shadowbringers when that first came out, and that was an extremely easy fight too. That said, while the fight is easy, it is still an extremely fun fight to do, and the music of it is very good. I like the Answers remix. It's so good. Answers is just like such a good song by default, and the fact that it's Heidelin's like battle music and it's just a good remix, it feels so like nice to rate to, which is why it's currently the background music. Going from those though, I can go into the trial that doesn't have an extreme version, so big spoilers for the end of Endwalker, the final boss of the entire X-Pack, the End Singer. That fight was awesome. It actually took us in, like, 'cause I do all my content in Duty Finder. It actually took us like a couple of wipes to like do it. I think we were up like 3 times in total, like 2 or 3 times, because people just kept getting absolutely obliterated by the exploding planets, which is very funny, by the way. It is extremely funny to watch people get fucking massacred by those exploding planets. And by far my favourite part of that fight is when the whole like phase change thing happens, where she casts down her ultimate and then you tank LB3 through it, and she's like, oh, Dynamis, and like the whole reveal that like Limit Break is Dynamis this entire time, and so like it's not just like an ass pull out of nowhere for like the sake of plot relevance. And then she's like, whoa, you survived, and then she's like, bet you can't fucking do that one again, bitch, and then she just resummons her ultimate and then throws it at you again. It's fucking funny. And then the fucking power of friendship breaks through and shit like that. Overall, so good. The music for Endsinger is very good. I very much liked the Shinryu remix. Cause you fucking ride on the back of Xenos in that fight, which is just fucking insane, by the way. Just insane. But I'll get into that in the MSQ stuff. The music is very good. I very much like the shimmy movies. Throwing in the Phase 1 weapons theme, the big fat taco meme song, was... I don't understand its placement there. I really don't understand its placement. I mean, it's a good song, but that was a very peculiar choice to me for the music. If someone knows, like, the reason for that, I would love to hear it, but it was very confusing to me why that was there. Overall, though, very good song. Fight was fucking awesome, and I'm so scared of the extreme fight. Hopefully, it's an actually good extreme fight, not like Hades Extreme, which was a very bad fight. And I did not like what the extreme did with it. Going from that, though, we can go into the dungeons. The dungeons are just the same old, so there's very little I can say about these. The first boss is usually, like, very weird, and, like, it's typically not a very intuitive boss in, like, most dungeons, where it's, like, it's kind of confusing in, like, how the mechanic works. And, like, you get hit by it, and it's, like, figured it out. And then, like, the second and third boss is usually just very easy, and things like that. That's it. So, like, there's not much I can say about dungeons. Trash packs are still trash packs. There's no real difficulty in dungeons. It's just the same old, and I don't think dungeons will ever be anything different to that, so I can't really say much. The only thing we can really say about dungeons is the music, which is always good. The gear, which I'm a little upset that the level 87 dungeon reused gear, and it's still not dyeable. Those who have seen that dungeon know what I'm talking about. That said, I did like the gear from the level 83 dungeon, the Guardian gear. That was very good. Especially like, 'cause I got the fending set. I also have the maiming set now too. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful sets. But other than that, the dungeons are just same old. I did like the level... Was it level 89? Was the dungeon level 89? The one with... No, wait. The level 89 dungeon where, like, everybody, like, helps out. Where you have, like, fucking Shiva and shit. That dungeon was awesome. Very cool. Other than that, dungeons, same old. Not really much you can say about them. Very easy, boring, fun to go through once, and then you just kind of farm them, and then get tired of them. That's it. Now we can get to the big thing of this video, and I'm already 30 minutes in. Oof. The main story quest. So I'm gonna to start off the main story here. I'm gonna start with the bad, and I'm gonna go into the good, because there's less bad than there is good, obviously. But I do want to get the bad stuff out the way first, so I don't, like, end it on, like, a down note. So to start with, the pacing of Endwalker was a little weird, and it seems like a lot of people are in agreement with this. I understand why the pacing was the way it was, but it did take quite some time to get off the ground. Like, it didn't really get off the ground until the moon. Like, once you hit the moon, the main story sort of picked up pace until, like, you went back to Labyrinthios, where it slowed down a bit again. But yeah, the start was very slow, and the solo instances were, in my opinion, not the strongest this expansion. Those are a lot of stealth missions, and just not a lot of, like, combat, especially in, like, the first, like, couple of levels of, like, the main story, where it's just, like, it's all about, like, dodging things. And even, like, with the sheer amount of like follow quests and, like, accompanying quests where you walk with NPCs, there was just not a lot of fighting to do. That's it. I did like the duty where you get ripped out of your fucking body, and like you have to fight back to your body, and then you fucking at the end of it, you fucking shoulder check yourself. That shit's fucking. That was an insane fucking quest, and it was very cool. Unfortunately, I had to redo that fucking thing because I had a bug where I couldn't close out. Where I accidentally opened a menu doing like the button mash thing, and it wouldn't let me close the menu. And oh my god, I had to redo the entire thing from the start. I was so upset, but and I was a little tight at that point. But overall, the solo instances were quite weak, especially in the early, and the pacing was a little all over the place at the start and the end. But the midpoint from like 83 to like 88 was all very good. The fact that we went to the moon, killed Fandaniel, wiped out Garlemald, and killed Anima and Zodiac within 3 levels was fucking mind-blowing, and I'm sure it blew everyone else's mind, where it was just like, this was the entire expansion and it's over in 3 levels. What just happened? What just happened? And then after you kill Zodiac and Fandaniel, there's that moment on the moon where it's just you and Xenos is just like, you don't want to fight me, so I'm just gonna leave. And then you have that cool scene where Xenos walks past you and you like sort of like check each other out. Oh, it was so cool. Dude, I love Xenos so much. But I know Xenos is a very controversial character, but I'll get more into him at the end. My only other issue with this is towards the end, there was a lack of weight to the main story in some aspect, because they killed everybody at the end. Like, they killed all the Scions and then brought them all back. And so there was a real lack of weight to it in that aspect. Cause like when I got into the final zone, Ultima Thule, and fucking Thancred just dies out of nowhere. That to me was awesome. Like, when they killed Thancred, I thought that was a very good way to do it. Where like he throws down his life and no one sees it. It comes at you fast, like immediately. You know? Like if Thancred didn't come back at that point, I'm sure a lot of people would have been angry. But I personally really liked the way it was done. And I was pretty sad about it, because I was like, no, Reen doesn't have a father, you know, this and that. And then they kill Astinian, like, immediately, and I'm like, they're all coming back. Once Astinian also dies, you know they're coming back. So, like, going through the entire thing, even though, like, they were sacrificing people, and, like, especially she was like, just use the crystal. There was a very big lack of weight to all these. I mean, it was still incredibly sad, and I still cried like a little bitch. But there was still a huge lack of weight to just the entire final area. I don't know, like, if they had just killed Thancred at the start and nobody else sacrificed themselves to get through the thing, and like Thancred just stayed dead, I'm sure most people would have hated it. I would have enjoyed that. Like, I think that would have been a very good way to do it. Of like, he throws down his life, and he just goes for it, and his sacrifice allows you to complete the mission and everything. And so, I don't know, the final area was very weird. It's very cool that we got to see like Midgard Soma's home. We got to see like where Omega came from, all those things. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. There was very much a lack of weight to the entire like final zone. That's it. I did like the themes it explored with like the end of the universe, the end of civilization, things like that. It was all very cool. But yeah, that's like my overall like downsides with that. That said, that's the only stuff I really found to be bad about, other than the sheer amount of fucking stealth and accompanying quests. They put those in the game and they were like, we want you to know these are in the game, and they kept throwing them at you, and there was a lot of them. They could have toned it down a tiny bit, but they didn't, and there was a lot of them. So, like, they probably could have toned that down too. But moving from that, we can go into, like, the good of this, because... Ooh, boy. The good in this fucking quest, just in this expansion, I should say. There's a lot. Everything feels finished. I don't feel like there's any loose ends. Everybody... The Scions is officially, like, disbanded, but unofficially they're still together. Everyone's going about their own stuff. You know, Yashto's trying to figure out how to go up the first, for her own reasons, and probably for, like, so that Thancred can see Reen. You know, you have, you know, Thancred and Urianger exploring the world, things like that. You know, Emmett Selk give you, like, a whole new bunch of stuff to, like, tease, like, where we're going, and he so badly mentioned Mericidia, and I so badly want to go to Mericidia. I hope we go to Mericidia. I want to go to Mericidia. I'm a moon cat, and so I want to go to Mericidia, because that's where Mikote is from. It's also where Bahamut is from, and so I so badly want to go there. I hope we go there in 7.0, and I'm hoping, like, that's, like, kind of where we sort of, like, line up towards going. I'll be somewhat sad if we don't go to Mericidia, but... You know, that is what it is. Everything felt done. You know, they finished, like, Urianger's arc with the whole Morn breeder thing. You know, they finished the twins with, like, their parents. You know, everyone just felt finished. So, overall, everything feels finished. Everything feels like final. It's all just fine and dandy. Like I mentioned there earlier, it was surprising that everything was done by level 83. Like, that was a whole kicker. Fucking Fan Daniel was actually fucking a Mon from Cypress Tower. That shit was wild. That was a reveal. And it turns out Amon was actually a fucking an ancient, and he was on the convocation. He was Hermes. Mind-blowing. And then there was the whole travel back into the past through the Crystal Tower, and we go to Elpis, which now I'm sure everybody lost their mind over this. We go back in time. Emmett Selk is there, but even more importantly, Hythlodeus is there. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a lesbian, but Hythlodeus, goddamn, I want that man to look into my eyes and ask me for a safe word. Because, whoo, that man is hot, dude. I was questioning my sexuality looking at that man. We also got our Ancients robe, which was very cool. Dude, when everyone got to, like... I got to, like, that area in, like, day 2, I think, of Early Access. Or maybe day 3. I think I might have got there day 2. Shout Chat, because I had Shout Chat on. Like, a lot of people say to disable Shout Chat. I have it on because I've never really run into spoilers. People were fucking freaking out in Shout Chat. It's like, it's beautiful, it's amazing, holy shit, we're here, holy shit, they're hot. And then, like, you get the robe, everybody's wearing the robe, you know. Then you meet Hermes and Meteon, and everyone is just dying at the sight of Meteon, you know. And it's like, holy shit, I've known Meteon for 2 seconds, and if anything happens to her, I will kill everyone in the room and myself. And then, you know, of course, the whole Meteon thing happens a bit later on, and we all felt real fucking dumb. But, oh, dude, that entire, like, I don't want to go too deep into this area, like, in this conversation, because this video will be, like, an hour long. But this area was so good, just for, like, all the lore, we got to make fucking, the previous Azem, Vinat, who would go on to become fucking, Hydaelyn, and she met you, and she's like, you're from the future, aren't you? Dude, she fucking nailed that shit. She's fucking badass. We get to fight her. Her fight was awesome. Her fucking ultimate move was super fucking dope. It was so cool. Everything about it was so cool. And then you meet fucking Argos, which is like why he was so friendly with you on the moon, because he's the goodest of the boys. Oh, it was all so good. Dude, fucking Elpis was amazing. And like, The Elpis dungeon is the first time I've ever used the trust system, because if you got to that point and didn't use the trust system, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hello? You get to journey with your 2 boys and your mentor? Like, hello? Damn! That entire area was fucking incredible. Second best part of the entire expansion, in my opinion, was... Oh, I freaked out a little bit there. That was like the second best part of like the entire expansion for me, was going to Elpis and just hanging out with everyone. It was so cool. It was so amazing. Oh, it was so good, dude. It was so fucking good. Like, I want to keep talking about that area, but I know I can't because this video is already long enough. But that was like so fucking good. It was amazing. I liked like all like the small like intermittent bits, like with the story, with like the downtime, with like the sounds and things, where like, for example, when you're all in the annex and you're like eating and fucking Grahatia's just munching on a fucking cheeseburger, you know? And then he fucking starts ranting about how he's too small, so he learned a levitate spell so he could reach the top shelf. So good. And then like towards the end, like everybody's like sat in the bar and just like having like a great conversation about like their futures after everything's done. So many death flags got raised this fucking expansion. The fact that nobody actually stayed dead was incredible, with how many death flags they fucking raised this expansion. Everything was so good. Like talking to like all the characters in between like missions was also good. Like, especially if you spoke to Emmett in Elpis whenever he was not the quest objective, he just had nothing but shit to say about you. He's like, "Don't speak to me, don't talk to me, you're trash. I hope you die." And it's like, Emmett, stop, we're friends. He's like, "Get the fuck out of here, I hate you." Everything was just incredible. The running gag of calling fucking the saving ship of the entire world the teeny tiny toy boat, the moon rabbit quest where all the scions get changed into a different outfit and they're all just like staring at each other. Dude, there's so many just like good there's so much like good comedy in just in this expansion. It was just incredible. Dude, oh, it was so good. That said, I want to talk about the finale. So I don't know how people feel about the finale of this expansion. A lot of people feel like the bad guy like kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think it did. Because Meteon wasn't the bad guy. It was Dynamis. Dynamis was the overall bad guy, which is like the thing which like we use as well for like limit breaks and things. She was just like the host to it. That said, the finale. So I will talk about the finale from after the twins get sacked. You have that long walk by yourself with all your friends and like voices of the past. That's all very cool, and then you come face to face with Goth Meteon. And then you clutch the crystal, you summon your boys, Emmett Selk, Hithodeus, they show up, they snap, you know, they bring out the field of flowers. Emmett has the fucking reveal that, like, he remembered everything when he died, like, all his years of fucking, like, how you told him all this was gonna happen, and how fucking angry he was at Hermes over it. Which, by the way, that part where, like, you leave Elpis, as a side note, that part where you leave Elpis and, like, you reach out for Emmett. Oh, my heart. My heart. Oh, man. Dude, that part was so hard. That part was so hard. And, like, you summon all the scions back, and then, like, you fight through the dungeon, and then they all get, like, fucking sucked up into the air when the fucking Meteon turns into the End Singer. And then there's that cool moment where, like, you bring up the teleporter button and you hit it and then drop it so that, like, it gets sucked away by the... That moment was fucking bad ass, dude. That part was so fucking cool. It was so amazing. I loved it. And then it's just you and fucking the End Singer just standing there, face to face, the edge of the universe. Nothing can get better than this. And then she starts casting this ultimate spell to kill you. And then you hear... Bang! I was like, what the fuck? And then bang, 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 and it's just like the world is shattering. You're like, what the fuck? And at this point, I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna crash the ship through it. Like they drove the ship here, and then fucking Shinryu shows up, and then Xenos is like the biggest fucking hype man in the world, and he's just like, really, bitch? Really, Warrior of Light? This is what you're struggling with? I'm waiting for a fight, and you're struggling with this shit? What are you doing? Fucking get over here. Kill this bitch. You're better than that. He's like, he's such a good fucking hype man. And then there's that fucking cool moment where you're running side by side with Xenos fucking Shinryu, and you jump into the air and you land on him like Estinian did with fucking the first brood, Tiamat and fucking Vitra. And then you ride Shinryu into fucking battle, and it's like, and like the fucking Shinryu music's playing. It's fucking incredible. I'm fucking, the mic didn't even pick me up properly because I was fucking freaking out too much. Fucking, and then like you fight on the back of Shinryu. You fight the fucking final boss, which I've already spoken about this earlier, but that was incredible. It was a very cool fight. You fucking destroyed that bitch, and then, you know, Shinryu lands. He turns back into Xenos. You have the whole heart-to-heart with fucking Medion, you know, and then, like, she survives. Biggest surprise of the game is that she fucking lives, and she turns into a bird and fucks off, and it's like, alright, see, and you give her, like, a salute, Sevens in chat, and then, at the edge of creation, there's only two people. There's you and Xenos, and so, before I talk about this, I want to say Xenos is a very controversial character. A lot of people don't like Xenos because they feel he's very bland. I personally like Xenos because I liked how straightforward as a character he is. Like, people call him simple, I call him straightforward. It's like, his life was boring. It's like, he was born into royalty, he had everything, and life was just boring to him. Like he found enjoyment through besting people in combat, but eventually he got so strong that even the one thing he enjoyed became boring. And then eventually he found something interesting, which is the Warrior of Light, because he found someone who could put up a fight, you know? He found his match, you know? It's like that one fucking Kung Fu Panda meme, where it's like finally, a challenge, our battle will be legendary, you know? Like, that's Xenos right there. And like, in a whole Xbox of like schemers and like plot lines and like so much like thinkers and like just like deception and all these plans and stuff, Xenos just didn't care. He was just like, I just want to fight this bitch again. It's like, I survived, let me fight again. Like, that's all he wanted, because, like, he couldn't fight anyone. Like, he couldn't even, like, go out and, like, fight someone else to, like, pass the time, because he would just kill everybody. And so, I really like this, especially in Endwalker, when he's on the moon, and, like, Fandaniel betrays him, he's just like, well, you're not even gonna look at me, so I guess I'll just leave. And then he leaves, and then you meet him again in Gala mode, when he cuts down, like, one of, like, the aberrations, and he's just, like, just sort of wandering about because he has nothing to do. And so he's just, like, cutting down monsters because he's bored. And then, like, Alize gives him, like, that whole, you'll never get the fucking fight you want because you're trash. And then she's like, he'll never remember that, so who cares? And then he actually does remember it. And then, so he shows up. And obviously he's done a lot of thinking by this point, which is, you know, surprising for Xenos. He thought things through. And he finally, like, in this moment, he finally came to the realization of how to get you to fight him. Which is to deal with whatever it is you're looking at, you will eventually fight him. Like, you will never fight him while there's a bigger problem. Like, while you're saving people. Because he figured out that at the end of the day, regardless of all, regardless of your titles as, like, the Warrior of Light, the Warrior of Darkness, Hero, Savior of all, regardless of all your deeds of killing gods, of saving the world, of, you know, saving thousands and millions of lives, at the end of the day, he finally figured out that you're just an adventurer, and like he is, of all people, the one to finally understand your character, and it feels less like he's talking to the character and more to you as a player, which is, regardless of everything, you do what you do because you want to know what comes next. The thrill of it is everything. It's like what comes next? Where am I going now? It's being an adventure. It's the thrill of exploration of new experiences. And so by dealing with the whole fate of the world thing, you are relieved of your duty as the Warrior of Light, and you are now just an adventurer again, which means you're looking for new adventure, you're looking for new thrills, and Xenos is there waiting for you to give that. And you get 3 options to say to him, and I picked the first option, obviously, because it's just like, it's so fitting that like Xenos finally understands you. And dude, you give him such a fucking smug look. If I can figure out how to put it in post, I'm gonna put in that like picture of just like the Warrior of Light just being fucking smug about it. It's so good. And then he's just like, ha! Acceptance at long last! And then, oh, it's so good. The fight is incredible. I was extremely tired when I did this fight because I'd been streaming for 13 hours and I was making a lot of mistakes. He hits like a fucking truck. If I wasn't a tank, I'd have died in this fight. But it was a fucking awesome fight. And then it's only made better by the fact that at the end of it, you just get into a fucking fist fight with Xenos. Just a straight up fucking brawl at the edge of creation with your best friend Xenos. Just punching the living shit out of each other. And then eventually, you know, you knock him the fuck out, but like, you've exhausted everything, and you're just like passed out. By the way, it was very cool that he was like combined with Shinryu as well, and that he could use like Shinryu mechanics. That was dope. But yeah, and like you just pass out like on the ground, and he's just like and you're just like having this heartfelt conversation with Xenos, just at the end of the universe in his final moments, and then eventually he just sort of like passes away, and it was just, oh, dude, that to me is like the absolute pinnacle of all of Final Fantasy, where it's like, at the end of the day, you're just an adventurer, and you have the biggest fight with the one person in the entirety of creation who can fight you to your to your absolute last. Because like it almost ended in a tie. It would have ended in a draw if you like didn't teleport out and get healing. And it was just like, oh, it was so good, dude. It was such a it was such a fucking incredible encounter. And I loved, like, that's like the peak of Final Fantasy to me. I loved it. I loved everything from Xenos bursting through. I was just like screaming the entire time for like an hour because it was just fucking incredible. Oh, it was so good. I love Xenos. He's like, oh, I could fucking just freak out about this for like an hour because it was just such a good encounter. It was such a good part of the story. It was just such a good finale to like finally have that throwdown with the guy who's just been wanting to fight you for what, like 4 years at this point. And it was worth it. It was worth it for him to finally go through the character development of how to get you to fight him. Like he finally realizes to just fight you as an adventurer, not as like like in the same sense that like Hades fought you, as where it's like cast away titles and all pretense and just fucking fight. And it's so good, dude. And like I saw a lot of people like hating that you fought Xenos then, and like people like didn't accept him. I feel like people are just like refusing to understand like Xenos' character, and I really liked just where it went with that. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. Endwalker is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. and I'm super excited to see where everything goes in like 6.1, Pandemonium, because we know Pandemonium is in the Elpis now, so it's in the past, which is very cool. I'm excited to see, you know, what we do with La Habrea there. It's just, I'm so excited. Overall, very good expansion. Honestly, better than Shadowbringers for me. Better than Shadowbringers. The high point, like, at the end with the end singer, with, like, all your friends, with Xenos, that to me beat out patch 5.3, which was the previous high point of Final Fantasy for me, with fucking Emmett appearing and fucking snapping. Which, by the way, fucking Emmett dying and remembering everything gives so much more context to, like, him appearing doing 5.3 and saving you. It gives so much more context to that. It's so good. Oh, I love the way everything ties together with, like, Emmett remembering. But yeah, just amazing. I would love to know what everybody else thinks about everything, about, like, what, like, their high points were, what their low points were. This video, unfortunately, went on for a lot longer than I thought it would. I want to keep this video, like, 30 minutes, like 20 minutes. It's been an hour. I don't know what I'm going to do for 40 minutes of content, like, in terms of video, because I only have 20 minutes of video prepared. I'll figure something out. But yeah. This has been Lady Priscilla, former Warrior of Light, because we are no longer the Warrior of Light. And, yeah, just, I'm excited to see where we go, and I fucking love this game. It's the greatest game. I love everybody who's worked on it. You know, I believe her name is Ishikawa, the fucking, like, the main scenario writer. You know, Yoshi for bringing everyone together, for assigning people to, like, the best they can be. Sorkin for just giving us the greatest music ever, you know. Just everybody, just incredible work, and I overall just fucking love this game, and I just, like, I'm excited to see where we go next. So with that, you know, I will be signing off, and I stream regularly on Twitch. I stream Final Fantasy, obviously. I stream some other games too. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Lady Priscilla CH. You can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Lady Priscilla CH. You can I tweet when I go live on Twitter. You can get to my YouTube and my Twitch from my Twitter. And I hope to see people in the future. And I hope you have a lovely evening.